PR Connections Radio presents.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Professionals Podcast. I am your host, Rachel West, and I have the belief that when we take the time to get to know others, we find that we have a lot more in common than we do different. And so I bring on guests to get to know the personal side of the guest and learn about what they have had to overcome in their business, in their life, to get to the success level they are at as a professional. I have a very special guest and dear friend of mine with us today, Krista Crotty, who is the business crew chief of Velocity Business Strategists. Welcome to the show, Krista.
Thank you, Rachel. It's good to see you as always.
Yes. So I'm so excited that you're here, and I want you to introduce you to all of the listeners. So let's get started, dive in, and give us a quick 5-minute or so background about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Okay. Quick background. My formal education is actually in mechanical engineering. I did an undergrad in mechanical engineering, and then I did a master's in production and operations management. I did several years. I worked for a Fortune 100 company in tech, putting manufacturing lines together, building product, distributing that all over the globe. And during that time, I found that I was really good at the operations side of it, which is what led me to do my master's in production and operations management. And from that, I got really involved in the environmental compliance side of electronics, which is a major snooze fest. But those of you who have an electronic device like a power pack for your computer or a laptop or some sort of device, I can explain all the symbols that are on there that for most people don't mean anything. Got really boring, got really bored because it was a lot of the same thing all the time. And then I went in, also found that I was very good at sales. So I had moved with this company from the manufacturing side of things to their procurement department, and really loved working with the clients, working with the customers, figuring out what it was that they truly needed, and then helping fulfill that need. And then I moved on to the consulting world, where again, I was involved with compliance as well as training, as well as sales. And then in 2019, going through personal development, professional development, I was introduced to NLP, neuro-linguistics programming, and really started to understand myself better, started to understand how I was naturally good at things. And like you said in your intro, looking for those similarities as opposed to those differences, and really going after what it truly was that I was passionate about. So here I am doing what I love to do every day, helping other business owners and professionals turn their passion into profits and paychecks.
That's amazing. I love that. And for those of our listeners that don't know what NLP is, can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yes. So NLP, neuro-linguistics programming, is really to me, it's the science of the brain. It's the science of how people think, why they think what they think, and how they became to be the thinkers that they are. And as you mentioned, looking for the similarities, it's a lot to do with the unconscious mind. And so it's how you see the differences or how you see the similarities in other people and are attracted to those. So, when most people think about the unconscious mind, it's, a lot of times has a bad connotation or a negative connotation, but it's really what runs like 90% of your life. 90% of your body, especially. You don't think about when your heart needs to beat. You don't think about how your lungs need to breathe. You don't think about how to form thoughts. They just happen. And that's actually your unconscious mind at work.
Mm-hmm. And in your personal development journey, what is the biggest thing you have learned about yourself?
Whoa, the biggest thing I've learned about myself. I'm the number one person I lie to the most. We always, I know For many people, including myself, it's, easy to blame others and not take responsibility. And, over the year-long journey and the trainings that I did, actually the continuous journey I've had since 2019, it's really been about, one of the things I really learned is, what about this is about me? If I don't like the way something's happening, or I don't like the answer someone's giving me, or I don't like a situation, what does that tell me about me? And what roadblocks am I setting up for myself? Because the path to success can really be smooth. It is fairly simple. We just make it difficult on ourselves because we allow things like limiting decisions, limiting beliefs, whether we've made them up ourselves or been lovingly gifted them by another person in our life, we allow them to stand in our way. And that's probably one of the biggest things.
That's so good. I love that. One of the biggest things for me has been learning that we do the best that we can. And that was a big lesson for me to learn in forgiveness of others.
Yeah, you're doing the best you can with the tools you have at the time.
Exactly.
And the only time you truly fail, the only time you truly stop succeeding is when you stop investing in yourself, when you stop and say, you know what, there's nothing else here for me to learn. There's always something else to learn. There's always another improvement. There's always something.
I love that. Yes, I agree. What do you know now that you would have told yourself when you started, whether that was in your personal development stage or even prior to that in your corporate years?
The only person's opinion that really matters is your own. Was a big one for me. Is other people have limiting beliefs, limiting decisions, their filter or their vision on things. And the only person that you really need to please, the only person that you really need to be true to is yourself. And being able to take that step forward. And for me, a big part of that was stopping my pleasing of everyone else and putting everyone else first and really putting myself first. What did I really want to do? For a long time, I went after things that, in my career, in my work experience, in my life, that were, I'll lovingly say, expected of me. You were expected to go to college. You were expected to get a good job. You're expected to have, a life outside of work. And I realized along the path, along the journey, that I was really living for other people a lot of times. I was really saying, oh, okay, this is what, I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do that. But it's not what I want to do. I don't want a 9-to-5. I don't want to work for someone else. I want to be able to do what I'm doing.
In your opinion, how can someone start the ball rolling or start the process of not doing that? Somebody who is where you were at, who is always putting others before themselves, always taking and wanting opinions to help move them forward. If somebody is currently in that space, in that mind frame, what do they have to do, or what can they do to start or stop doing that?
So a big part of it is answering the question to yourself, asking the very, very personal question of, what does success mean to me? How do I want to define success? And it's okay that it's parts of what other people think, that's parts of other things that have happened in your life. That for me was a big one, is saying, look, what do I consider successful? How do I want to define success for me? The other part of that is surrounding yourself with people that are on a journey to personal development, on a journey to personal improvement, professional improvement. Surround yourself with those people that are maybe a step or two ahead of where you want to be, or where you are. That's how you and I met. You and I met wanting to better both of our businesses, wanting to be around better people. And, we developed a couple of little masterminds, a couple of little groups that we decided, like, look, we're going to, one of them was the book, the book club, right? We started reading books and we're like, hey, we're going to read this personal development, professional development book, and then we're going to talk about it. Like, here's my view of it. And I have a very different view than you do, on a lot of things. And then you would give your view, and a couple of the other people that were in the group would give their view. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is being able to surround yourself with people that are pushing you, that are challenging you, and there to support you and pick you up and dust you off when, things go sideways and you hit that wall and you really don't know where to go. Is being surrounded by those people who are there to help you, that truly want you to succeed. And one of the things for me in that journey was, it's not always those people that you think you're closest to. It's not always those people that are, I'll say for me, it was family, right? Because they want to protect you. And they're like, do you really want to should you really be doing this? Don't you need to do this? Don't you need to do that? And being aware of that person's limiting decisions or limiting beliefs, and be like, you know what, that's their limitation. I remember being told, well, you know what, as an entrepreneur, you'll never make $1,000 a year, or I'm sorry, $1,000 a week, or $100,000 a year. And I was like, okay, then how do you explain Tony Robbins? How do you explain Elon Musk? How do you explain these people that, are well over that and have been well over that for a long, long time? Like, they are entrepreneurs. They are business owners. There's a gentleman here where I live now that has a heating and air conditioning company, plumbing company, and they're over 5 million a year. So it's possible. And it's surrounding yourself with those people that can see that possibility. Maybe they're unclear right now how to get there, yet they can see it happening. It's just a matter of taking the steps to make it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, the people that you surround yourself is super important, and nobody sees your vision. You're the only one. So making sure to stay focused and clear on what it is that you want and go after it, because nobody else is seeing what you're seeing. Mm-hmm. So I love that.
Well, and that's my word for this year. It's because I've been you've known me for several years. There are times I'm kind of all over the place. My word this year is alignment.
I love that.
If it's not in alignment with my ultimate goal of my business, then I'm not going to do it. And, if I find some downtime, or I find some differences, and, networking is a big one for me. And, if this networking group is not in alignment with what I ultimately want to do, then I may make a different choice. Mm-hmm. Because, you and I did a lot of networking together when we lived in the same city. And there are times where you go to an event, you're like, oh, I'm going to go to every event I can. Well, your target market's not at every event, right? Mm-hmm. Who are you around? And I love it when people are like, well, who's your market? It's like, well, my market, my ideal client, I would say I lovingly say is more of a psychographic than a demographic. It's not a person, it's not a place, it's a mindset. Are you ready to do the work to move your business forward? Mm-hmm. Or do you want someone else to keep doing the work? Do you want somebody else to outsource it to? Or are you really willing to look in that mirror and say, you know what? I'm the biggest part of my business, so I'm the one who needs to change the most.
Yes, that's huge. Huge. Yes. And I agree 100%. And I think networking is really big in building relationships. And my belief is that a strong business is built on strong relationships.
100%. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have to have those relationships beyond just the networking, right? You want to, yes, I love going to networking events, and I'd love to go meet somebody just for a virtual coffee or an in-person coffee, or go to those events where it's like, hey, so-and-so is sponsoring happy hour. Come just hang out. Get to know the person behind the business, behind the product they're selling. Because I guarantee when you start to have those types of conversations, those relationships eventually turn into business. Mm-hmm. If you can uncover the passion and the reason why someone is doing something, the plumber who fixes pipes probably had a pipe burst, had to figure out themselves, and then knew that they could help someone else do that same thing, right? Same reason you're a life coach, same reason I'm a business coach, right? I struggled in business for a lot of years. I struggled in my career for a lot of years. And now I'm thriving. I'm doing great. Let's move forward together. Let's reach back and say, hey, you know what? I had that problem. I've been there. And this is how I got through it. Maybe it's not exactly the way that you need to do it. Maybe you need a little bit different, adjustment or this or that, or you're in a different spot. Yet you can learn a lot of lessons by watching those people around you. Mm-hmm. Just like the little kid who walks more quickly than the big brother or the big sister, right? The firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn, they usually walk a little bit quicker than the firstborn because they've watched that, they've seen that, they've modeled it. And they're like, you know what? I've seen this person do this, so now I can do it too.
Yep. And when you watch, model, or copy somebody else who's done what you want to do or is where you want to be, you'll get there that much quicker. So that's amazing. Absolutely. What is one barrier that has gotten in your way that you had to overcome to get to where you are at today?
A big one was putting myself out there. For me, it was putting myself out there and taking what I just said a few minutes ago and really going, you know what? Accepting myself for where I'm at, moving forward, and being okay with other people saying potentially negative things or not agreeing with what I say or not taking me seriously when having a business, and being like, you know what? That means they're not ready for that change. And you know what? They may not be my target market. They may not be my target clientele. As much as I, thought they were at one point, I also know now that my target market has changed significantly in the last 5 years, even the last year in my business, because I've changed. I'm attracting a different type of person, and that's okay.
Yes, I love it. So being a really close friend of yours, I know a lot about you that our listeners don't know. And I know that a passion of yours is motorsports and racing. Yes. So can you tell us how you have taken your personal passion of racing and motorsports and turned it into your professional passion and how that sets you apart from every other business coach out there?
Yes, you were part of that conversation because we were going through training together. So I've been involved in motorsports. I've been driving race cars for, over 30 years now. And it's been a massive part of my world. And at one point when I was in college, I actually had a professor who told me, never tell anyone at work about your racing. And I followed that for a couple of years. And then I realized that I was hiding one of my biggest assets, one of my biggest passions, because it allows me, when I talk about racing or I talk about motorsports, I talk about the people that are involved in racing, it allows me to connect with people on a deeper level. You share that, whether it's, you love water skiing, you love race cars, you have kids, you look for that connection with other people. And for me, I was able to, several years ago, start to draw the parallels between business and racing, right? Because in order to put your car on the track, in order to be a race car driver, there's a lot of people that you need support from in order to make that happen. Whether it's your crew, it's your family, it's the racetrack workers, whatever it is, it's impossible to do it alone. And so for me, I started to draw on those parallels and that passion in 2019 when I rebranded my company so that I could truly say, you know what, this is what I do and this is how I do it. I want to accelerate your success. I want you to enjoy what you're doing and have that passion and be able to say, you know what, I am scared. And that's okay. That adrenaline starts pumping and you're like, okay, great, let's go. Now we can channel that. Now we can focus and say, you know what? You did it great the last lap. So if you're a speaker or presenter or doing trainings, great, you've done one. What did you learn? What can you improve on? What went really well? And I love doing that with clients because it's easy to say, you know what? I made 10 sales calls. Okay, great. Let's now assess how you did. Who did you actually talk to? How did you talk to them? What was the outcome? What could have you done better? What was your favorite part about it? And there's that, among many others, are a lot of parallels between business and, auto racing.
Mm-hmm.
or racing in general. It could be boats, it could be motorcycles, it could be cars, sailboats, you name it. It's same principles.
Mm-hmm. Step on the gas and go anyway.
Yep.
I love
And
that.
sometimes, as much as you don't want to, you have to hit the brakes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But if you sit there and you idle and you don't do anything, right? You're just coasting down the road. You're not on the gas. You're not in pause mode. You're not on the brakes. Well, you're not really doing anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? Same thing in business. You're either moving forward or you're taking a step back and hitting the brakes and taking a pause and looking at things. If you're not doing one of those two things, you're actually killing your business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what are you doing now? Where are you at? What do you have going on? What do you want to share? What do you want them to know?
So I do individual coaching. I do a lot of individual consulting. So more of a consultative basis of going in, similar to a crew chief does for an auto sports or a motorsports team. They kind of assess and they look at everything that's going on and where can you make adjustments and make improvements. I do have a group program starting in a couple of weeks. So that's where we get together once a week. We talk about, similar to the mastermind you and I were part of, we talk about different things that are going on in our business. There is a short lesson of, hey, we're going to focus on this aspect of your business. Sometimes it's marketing. Sometimes it's branding. Sometimes it's admin. Sometimes it's execution of your operations. And then there is a pre-recorded lesson each week about that similar topic to kind of get the juices flowing and the mindset in that direction. So it's a little bit of tasking each time we get together. It's a little bit of that mastermind type scenario where you can bring something to the group and share it, ask for advice, ask for feedback. And then I am starting to take names for interest in doing my own NLP, neuro-linguistic programming trainings, starting this summer.
Amazing. I love it. So much good stuff going on.
Thank you.
What does being a professional mean to you?
Doing things with excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Being okay with falling down, being okay with failing. Took me a long time to be able to say that. I can now fail with grace, learn my lesson, and take 2 steps forward after taking 1 step back.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it is a lot of responding to things as opposed to reacting. When someone cuts you off on the road and they're screaming at you because, they cut you off, yet you're like, okay, buddy, that's all about you.
Mm-hmm.
What about that? Like, why are you mad at me? I let you in. So it's really taking that step back and looking at yourself first when something goes wrong, and then looking to see where things can be improved.
Yes.
And a big part of that being professional to me is under promising and over delivering, because so many times you have people who over promise and under deliver. And I really like to walk on the other side to where I say what I'm going to do, and then I give you even more.
That's huge. Yes, I love that. And what is one final takeaway message that you want to give to our listeners?
I would say there's 2 quotes I'd like to share.
Okay.
The one is over here, over my shoulder here. It's from John F. Kennedy. And it says, when written in Chinese, the word crisis is made up of 2 characters. One is danger and one is opportunity. My addition to that is focus on one, because you can't focus on both. And this was a big quote that's been a part of my life for several years. And it really helped me get through 2020 and the years that have happened since then, is because every time there's a crisis, because we all have business crises or personal crises or whatever, what can you focus on? Can you focus on, or do you want to just focus on the negative that comes out of it? Or can you focus on the positive? How can you find the lesson in what's happened and move forward with it? I remember sending out proposals for doing a job. It was with the state here where I live now. And, I was told no, I wasn't a good fit. And I could have absolutely focused on the fact that I failed. I didn't get the job. And then I was talking with another good friend of ours, and they were like, well, what about this? What about the fact that it's opening up an opportunity that you've yet to see that's going to be better suited for you down the road? And if you really truly look at the qualifications of the last job or contract that was put out there, you're actually overqualified. So that was really cool. And then the second one is stop complaining about the results for the work you didn't do. Stop complaining about the results you didn't get for the work you didn't do.
I love that one. That's a good one. Well, thanks so much for being here today. Again, I am your host. This is the Professionals Podcast. We are live on the first Wednesday of every month. So we'll be back here on April 5th. Thanks again, Krista, for being here. I appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.